So today we're gonna be fixing this Miata. We're gonna start disassembling it. The previous owner apparently overheated it. When we picked this thing up, it's not in the best shape, but this blue is very desirable. Very rare option. Not rare, but most of the cars were red, so having a blue one is a plus. This car is overall, there's been a lot of work done to it. Not properly done, but it has a lot of work done to it already. Has a brand new water pump, and for whatever reason it overheated, so I'm gonna be checking why it overheated. So it's got 175,000 miles. It has racing headers, it has full exhaust. It's got a racing beat can in the back, or muffler. It's got aftermarket rims. I'm not sure what those are. You see, racing beat. We have aftermarket rims. Those are a little bit scratched up, but overall they're in pretty good shape. I should wash the car before I start taking it apart, but we're gonna just get straight to it. So what this car needs basically is, I'm guessing, a head rebuild. Just take out the head gasket, put a new one in. That's what I'm guessing. Obviously it was overheated, so that's the first thing you would do. So I'm gonna start taking it apart, I guess. I mean, whenever I checked it, this thing was empty, so there's no water in there at all, which is not good, but we can fix anything. So I mean, there's this electro fan that's just kind of sitting there, and it's got this janky wire going to the back, and it's got like a switch that turns it on. It also has that switch in the center console. That's for the electro fan. And it's obviously it's a stick, so that's a plus. I wouldn't have bought it if it was an automatic. They're not worth it. How would you get a Miata if it's an automatic, right? Like that car. Just kidding. The car is great. This is basically like the German Miata, which is an amazing car. The video should be coming out soon for that one. Definitely will be coming before this one. So but yeah, I mean, I'm gonna start tearing it apart. I'm actually gonna take out one of the plugs, or all of them, just to be sure. It sounds like it has no compression. Obviously you can tell the timing chain is on, or the timing belt. So I thought maybe it was just a bad, apparently the guy just put that belt in. All I thought was maybe it snapped, but as I can clearly tell it's not snapped, so sucks. It actually needs a head rebuild. So what we're gonna be doing is basically changing out the head gasket, getting the head resurfaced, and hopefully the valves are not in bad condition, so we don't have to relap them. But yeah, we're gonna get started on this thing. It's a clean little Miata. I've worked on these before. I've done brakes to them, exhaust, even a cutout. I've installed the ECUs. I've done a belt replacement. I've done all sorts of stuff. So I'm very experienced with Miatas. So this would be a fun little project. So let's get started. Got my tools in the trunk of the car. I should have brought my my GoPro, but it's actually inside the shop. So I'm gonna get started. Not waste any time. do kind of like a compression test. I basically shoved the towel down the spark plug hole, and I'm gonna crank the engine over to see if the piece of towel shoots back up, or paper towel. So let's give it a try. They all work. Obviously, this is kind of like a crappy way of finding out if you have compression, but I don't know the exact numbers. All I know that it should start. These engines are very low compression, so I'm not sure what's going on. We're gonna check spark next to see if there's anything wrong with that. Probably need somebody to crank it, but I'm alone, so it sucks. I'll probably have to do something with the ignition. All right, I'll figure this out real quick. Okay, so we're back. We're going to the Miata. Yesterday I did a compression test, and I got bored halfway through because first cylinder I did a compression test had 30 psi, and this one had 60. The requirements are regularly these engines supposed to have 130, which would be the minimum, and 165 would be like around the best shape of the engine. So I'm gonna put oil inside the spark plug holes, so it could drip down into the cylinder. That way we could check if it would be a ring issue or just a head gasket issue. If it still does not want to start, then that means the head gasket's officially blown. The head, or it could be something with the valves too. I'm not too sure. But as we start tearing things apart, we're gonna learn more about the engine, its current condition. So I'm gonna keep, like I said, I'm gonna put oil on the cylinders, double check that it's not just, I don't know, make sure the engine's at least good bottom end wise, because if it needs new pistons or new rings, which would be the reason why it's so low compression, there's no point. I mean, I could just find an engine for $500 and not worry about it, or I could build it, but I mean that's dumping a lot of money into a car that's supposed to be flipped. So the idea is to keep my costs as low as possible. So what we're gonna do is obviously throw oil down the spark plug holes, so it drips down into the cylinder. That way, the coat of oil that would go on top of the piston would seal it enough to the point where it would make more compression. So it's basically like a wet compression test, but what we're gonna be doing is literally just cranking the engine, see if it starts. So we're gonna try that, see with more compression if the engine does anything, and if it doesn't, that means the head gasket's officially in horrible condition, or we could just have, or the engine could be out of timing. So either or, we're gonna figure it out. So we're gonna start throwing oil down the spark plug holes. Oh wow, okay, well, it started. It smoked a lot of
it definitely needs a head gasket. But at least bottom end, I believe it's good. Generate enough compression for it to start. Obviously smoking a lot out of the tailpipe because there was oil inside the cylinders, and it's smoking out of the radiator because the head gasket's blown. So definitely just needs a head gasket, which is great. It'll be easy to fix it. So let's not lose any more time and let's start tearing this thing down. So I got the radiator out. So what's kind of scary is that's everything that came out of it. It was basically empty. There's basically no water in there, or there was no water in there. So that's kind of sketchy. But I mean, we already saw that the engine started, so it's just a matter of taking off the head, putting a new head gasket in it. It should be easy. Obviously it's overheated, so I'll probably need new head bolts and just a head gasket, and obviously the rest of the gaskets for the intake and then the exhaust manifold. So it should be easy. But right now I just took off the radiator, put it out to the side. I do have to test that it has no leaks. As you can tell, this one has a big hit right here, and that's one of the hard lines that goes vertical. So that's scary. Hopefully it didn't overheat because of that, or hopefully it did. So we don't have to worry about anything else possibly getting messed up again. So for now, we're gonna leave it here. I'm gonna get back to work on the car. I have to tear this whole thing down today. But I mean, it's a small, tiny car, so it shouldn't take that long. I'll just keep stripping it and keep it on time lapse. Okay, so I got the intake manifold off. It's already all taken off. Didn't have to do much. Just obviously there's bolts that go straight into the head right here, which I disconnected or unscrewed, and then I disconnected the injectors, this line, the throttle TPS sensor, and the fuel lines. So I put a zip tie on this one, and so I know which one goes where. I put on one of these lines, I put a zip tie too, so I keep everything organized and I know what I'm doing. So for whenever I reassemble. Right now I'm going to take off the exhaust, and then I'm going to start disassembling from the top and take off the cams and the everything else. Yeah, so as you can see, we got the exhaust headers unbolted, got them backed out, and then I already took off the valve cover. These cams look to be in great shape. I guess they kept up with the oil changes and whatnot. There's a little bit of scoring on them, but it's not horrible. I'm gonna loosen up the alternator, get that belt loose, take off the water pump bolts, and so I can have access to removing this this belt. Either way, I should be able to take this bolt out and then just back out the one of the cams, and the belt should come right out. But either way, I'm gonna have to tension it afterwards, so I'm better off just taking off the bottom part, taking off that the plate for the water pump, and then I'll be able to easily put it back together once we're done with resurfacing the head. So I'll get to that now. GoPro still going, I believe. Was definitely 2,000 pictures. Great time lapse. And actually, this thing had a problem where the water, this pump was not aligned, so I'm gonna have to check that out once we get the head resurfaced, before slapping it back together. So we have AC in the car too. Apparently the previous owner fixed all the lines. He did a lot of work to it and then eventually gave up once the head gasket blew. So my luck. Hopefully we'll see if everything was up to, like he said, working. Okay, so we got everything unbolted. We're about to remove the head. Hopefully we have zero issues. I forgot this one hose clamp on the front. So once I remove this one, it's going to be fully free. I believe I unbolted everything already. All the grounds, all the crankshaft position sensor already disconnected. So I believe we're ready to remove everything off the top, at least. Making sure everything's disconnected. There's one sensor I'm missing back here, which I have no clue what it is. All right, there we go. So the head should be ready to come out. Man, this engine's so small. It's so funny. But the head gasket's here. What it looks like to me is that, honestly, it doesn't look horrible. That's the scary part. Maybe I took it off for no reason. Who knows? Either way, all the cylinders have the cross hatch on it, which is great. The bottom end looks amazing. It looks in great shape, so that's good. The head off. I believe I found the issue why this thing overheated. Obviously this goes on the back of the engine block, and this thing was broken, and that looks to be like a water line, just basically should have been plugged off, but they put like a rubber boot on it, and I believe that's where most of the coolant fell out of. So sucks, but that's why this engine blew. I'm gonna be removing the cams and other accessories that we do not need. So putting brake cleaner inside the intake ports, and the brake cleaner is basically like just compressed acetone. So like with this way, or if you put gas in here too, you could check your valve and if they're sealing or not. And clearly, as you can tell, these are okay. They leak regardless. As you can tell right there, it's building up, building up, building up, building up, and then now it's kind of dripping. But this one, as soon as I start pouring it in, it starts pouring immediately. So I know these valves are bad. They need to be resealed. Same with this one, you can tell it's kind of it's losing the brake cleaner through the valves. You can tell it's flowing down, and then this back one is horrible too. So we definitely need to make sure we do the valves on this because they're bad. So, conclusion for the Miata. This car has seen better days. I put everything up. I got the head of my car, and we're going to be getting it resurfaced. I'm going to be redoing the, have it in this box back here, but so we ended up getting, so we ended up figuring out, or I ended up figuring out that obviously you saw in the video the valves were leaking, so that means that they need to be relapped, and hopefully it's not because the head has the head's probably warped like crazy. So hopefully we can get it resurfaced, I can get it all that relapped, and it'll be like new, hopefully. Like I was saying, the head might be extremely warped, therefore hopefully it's salvageable. Hopefully there's no cracks in it. Hopefully we can just resurface it and then put new not valves, but just basically rebuild the head overall. Put new gaskets in it and put new head gasket, new valve seals. Basically make basically redo the whole top end. So, I'm trying to get this thing done quickly and cheaply, so spending the least amount possible, because we did pay a decent amount for it, so still trying to make some profit out of it. But either way, it's going to be built properly and assembled properly, and it's going to be a ripper.